Maya wiped the sweat from her forehead as she finished arranging the last bunch of roses in the flower shop. The afternoon sun streamed through the glass windows, casting colorful shadows across the wooden floor. She had been working at Bloom and Blossom for 2 years now, ever since she moved to this small coastal town to start fresh after her divorce. The bell above the door chimed softly as someone entered. Maya looked up to see a tall man with dark hair and kind brown eyes. He wore a simple blue shirt and jeans, but there was something about the way he carried himself that caught her attention. He seemed nervous, running his hand through his hair as he approached the counter. "Hi, I need some flowers," he said, his voice gentle but uncertain. "It's for my grandmother's birthday. She's turning 85 tomorrow, and yellow roses are her favorite." Maya smiled warmly. "Yellow roses are beautiful. They represent friendship and joy. Your grandmother has good taste." She walked over to the yellow rose section, selecting the freshest blooms. "How many would you like? Maybe a dozen?" He watched as she carefully chose each rose, admiring how gentle her hands were with the delicate petals. "I'm David, by the way. I just moved here last month to take care of my grandmother. She's been living alone since my grandfather passed away. I'm Maya. It's nice that you're here for her. Family is important." She began wrapping the roses in soft yellow paper, adding baby's breath and green foliage. "Is she doing well?" David leaned against the counter, seeming more relaxed now. "She's amazing for her age, but I worry about her. She's been talking about my grandfather a lot lately, telling me stories about their life together. They met when they were teenagers and were married for 60 years. That's incredible. True love like that is rare." Maya tied a golden ribbon around the bouquet, her fingers working skillfully. "There you go. I'm sure she'll love them." As David reached for his wallet, he hesitated. "I hope this isn't too forward, but would you like to get coffee sometime? I don't know many people here yet, and you seem really nice." Maya felt a flutter in her stomach. She hadn't been interested in dating since her divorce, but there was something genuine about David that made her want to say yes. "I'd like that. There's a nice cafe down by the harbor. They make excellent coffee, and the view is beautiful." "Tomorrow afternoon? After I celebrate with my grandmother?" "That sounds perfect." Maya wrote her number on a small piece of paper and handed it to him with the flowers. "Tell your grandmother happy birthday from me." David smiled, and Maya noticed how his whole face lit up. "I will thank you for the beautiful arrangement, and thank you for saying yes." After he left, Maya found herself humming as she continued her work. She hadn't felt this excited about anything in a long time. That evening, she called her best friend Sarah to tell her about the encounter. "A flower delivery led to a coffee date? That's like something from a movie," Sarah laughed. "What's he like?" "Kind, genuine. He moved here to take care of his grandmother, which says a lot about his character." And Sarah, when he smiled, "I felt something I haven't felt in years." "Just be careful, Maya. You've been hurt before." "I know, but I can't let fear stop me from living." "Maybe it's time to take a chance again." The next day, Maya spent extra time getting ready. She chose a simple sundress in soft blue and tied her dark hair back loosely. When she arrived at Harbor Cafe, David was already there, sitting at a table by the window overlooking the water. "You look beautiful," he said, standing to pull out her chair. "Thank you." "How was your grandmother's birthday?" David's face brightened. "She loved the roses. She actually asked where I got them and seemed very interested when I mentioned you. I think she's already planning to visit your shop." They talked for hours about everything and nothing. Maya learned that David was a teacher who had taken a leave of absence to care for his grandmother. He loved reading, hiking, and had a passion for photography. David discovered that Maya had always dreamed of having her own garden, that she painted in her spare time, and that she moved to this town because she needed a peaceful place to heal. "I was married for 7 years, Maya found herself sharing. It ended badly. He wasn't a bad person, but we wanted different things. I wanted a family, a real partnership. He wanted freedom and no responsibilities. I'm sorry you went through that. It must have been difficult starting over." "It was, but this town has been good to me. The people are kind, the pace is slower. I've learned to enjoy my own company again." David reached across the table and gently touched her hand. I understand about starting over. I was engaged 2 years ago. She left when my grandmother got sick and needed more care. She said she didn't sign up for that kind of responsibility. That must have hurt terribly. It did, but it also showed me who she really was. I realized I wanted someone who understands that love means being there for each other through everything, not just the easy times. As the afternoon turned to evening, they walked along the harbor. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, reflecting on the calm water. Seagulls called overhead, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of salt air. "This is my favorite time of day," Maya said, stopping to lean against the railing. "There's something magical about sunsets by the ocean." David stood beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth from his body. "I can see why. It's peaceful here. In the city, I always felt like I was rushing somewhere, but I never knew where. And now I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Maya turned to look at him, and found him watching her with an intensity that made her heart skip. "David, I know we just met, but I feel something here, Maya. Something I haven't felt in a long time. Is that crazy? If it is, then we're both crazy." She smiled, feeling brave. "I feel it too." They continued walking as the stars began to appear in the darkening sky. When they reached Maya's small apartment above the bakery, they stood on the sidewalk, neither wanting the evening to end. "I had a wonderful time," Maya said softly. "So did I. Can I see you again tomorrow?" "I'd like that very much." David stepped closer, and Maya's breath caught in her throat. He reached up to gently tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch sending shivers down her spine. "Maya, I know this might be moving fast, but I'd like to kiss you goodnight." Instead of answering with words, Maya rose up on her toes and met him halfway. Their lips met softly at first, tentatively, then with growing warmth and certainty. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing unsteadily. "Good night, David," Maya whispered. "Good night, beautiful." As Maya climbed the stairs to her apartment, she touched her lips, still feeling the warmth of his kiss. Through her window, she watched David walk away, his hands in his pockets and a spring in his step. That night, Maya lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Her heart was racing with excitement and possibility. For the first time since her divorce, she felt truly alive again. She thought about David's gentle hands, his kind eyes, and the way he had listened to her stories without judgment. Meanwhile, across town, David was having the same sleepless night. He sat by his grandmother's bedside, watching her sleep peacefully, and thought about the unexpected gift this day had brought him. He had come to this town to take care of family, but somehow he had found something he hadn't even been looking for. The next morning, Maya woke early and dressed carefully for work. She found herself hoping David would stop by the flower shop, even though they had plans to meet later. As she unlocked the shop and began arranging fresh flowers, she caught herself smiling for no particular reason. Around noon, the bell chimed and her heart leaped, but it wasn't David. Instead, an elderly woman with silver hair and bright blue eyes entered the shop. She moved slowly, but with dignity, using a carved wooden cane. "You must be Maya," the woman said with a warm smile. "I'm Eleanor, David's grandmother. He told me all about you, and I wanted to see for myself the young woman who has put such a smile on my grandson's face." Maya felt her cheeks warm. "It's lovely to meet you, Mrs. Please, call me Eleanor. Now show me these famous yellow roses. I hear you have quite the talent for arrangements." As Maya showed Eleanor around the shop, she found herself charmed by the older woman's wit and wisdom. Eleanor shared stories about her late husband, their courtship and their life together, the secret to lasting love. Eleanor said, touching a red rose gently, "is not finding someone perfect, but finding someone perfect for you. Someone who makes you want to be better, who stands by you when life gets difficult. David is lucky to have you," Maya said sincerely. Eleanor studied her carefully. "I think perhaps he's lucky to have found you too, dear. I haven't seen him this happy in years. But tell me, what are your intentions with my grandson?" The directness of the question surprised Maya, but she appreciated the honesty. I like him very much, Eleanor. Pah, I'm not looking for games or casual dating. I've been hurt before, and I'm only interested in something real. Good. David has been hurt too. He needs someone genuine, someone who will love him for who he is, not what they want him to become. Before Eleanor left, she purchased a small arrangement of mixed flowers. For my kitchen table, she explained. Flowers make everything brighter, don't you think? That evening, Maya and David met for dinner at a small Italian restaurant. As they shared pasta and wine, Maya told him about his grandmother's visit. She's wonderful, David 5. I can see where you get your kindness from. She likes you too. She called you a breath of fresh air when I spoke to her this afternoon. Coming from Eleanor, that's high praise. She told me some beautiful stories about your grandfather. It sounds like they had an amazing love story. David nodded, twirling pasta around his fork thoughtfully. They did. They met at a dance when they were both 18. Grandpa always said he knew the moment he saw her that she was the one. They faced a lot of challenges together. The war, financial struggles, raising 4 children, losing 2 of them in accidents, but they never gave up on each other. That's the kind of love I've always dreamed of, Maya admitted. The kind that lasts through everything. Me too. David reached for her hand across the table. Maya, I know this is only our second date, but I want you to know that I'm not interested in playing games. I'm looking for something real, something that could last. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. So am I, David. So am I. After dinner, they walked through the town square, where strings of white lights twinkled in the trees. The night was warm, and couples and families strolled along the paths, enjoying the peaceful evening atmosphere. Tell me about your dreams, David said as they sat on a bench near the fountain. What do you want your life to look like? Maya was quiet for a moment, gathering her thoughts. I want a home filled with love and laughter. I want a garden where I can grow my own flowers. I want someone to share sunsets with. Someone who will hold my hand when we're old and gray. I want children someday, if that's possible. What about your flower shop? I love working with flowers, but my real dream is to have my own greenhouse and flower farm. Somewhere I can grow everything myself and create arrangements for weddings and special occasions. Maybe teach others about flower arranging. David smiled. That sounds beautiful. I can picture you in a greenhouse, surrounded by blooming flowers, teaching others to create beautiful things. What about you? What are your dreams? I want to go back to teaching eventually, but maybe here instead of the city. I love working with kids. Helping them discover learning can be exciting. I want a family too, a wife who will be my partner in everything. I want to give my children the kind of love and stability my grandparents showed me. And your grandmother, what will happen when she doesn't need you anymore? David's expression grew serious. She's the reason I came here, and I'll stay with her as long as she needs me. After that, I think I'd like to stay in this town anyway. It feels like home in a way the city never did. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the fountain's gentle spray catch the moonlight. Maya felt a deep contentment settling over her, something she hadn't experienced in years. Maya, David said softly, turning to face her. I want to be honest with you about something. Her heart skipped a beat. What is it? I think I'm falling for you. Fast and hard. It scares me because I've been hurt before, but it also feels right in a way nothing ever has. Maya felt tears of happiness spring to her eyes. David, I feel the same way. It's terrifying and wonderful all at once. He cupped her face gently in his hands. Then, let's be scared together. Let's take this one day at a time and see where it leads. This time when they kissed, it was with the promise of possibility, of hope for a future neither had dared to imagine just days before. As they held each other under the starlit sky, both Maya and David felt something shift inside them, like pieces of a puzzle finally clicking into place. 3 months had passed since that magical evening by the fountain, and Maya's life had transformed in ways she never expected. She and David had fallen into a comfortable rhythm of seeing each other almost every day. Some evenings they would cook dinner together in Maya's small apartment, Other times they would take long walks on the beach or sit with Eleanor, listening to her stories about the old days. Maya had never felt so understood by another person. David remembered small details about her day, brought her coffee in the mornings when he knew she had been up late painting, and encouraged her dreams about the flower farm with genuine enthusiasm. In return, Maya helped David navigate the challenges of caring for Eleanor, who was gradually becoming more frail but remained sharp and spirited. "I think we should move in together," David said one evening as they sat on Maya's small balcony, sharing a bottle of wine and watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. Maya nearly choked on her wine. "Really? Are you sure it's not too soon?" "Maya, I love you. I know that with absolute certainty. And practically speaking, it would make sense. Eleanor has been asking why I'm paying rent on that apartment when I spend every night here anyway." "Eleanor knows you stay here?" David laughed. "Be said not blind. She also told me yesterday that if I don't make an honest woman out of you soon, she's going to do it herself." "She did not say that." "She absolutely did, in exactly those words." David set down his wine glass and took Maya's hands in his. "I know we said we'd take things slowly, but this feels right. We're good together, Maya. We balance each other." Maya looked into his warm brown eyes and felt her heart swell with love and certainty. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, let's do it." They decided David would give up his apartment and officially move into Maya's place above the bakery. It was small but cozy, and they both agreed that saving money would help Maya get closer to her dream of opening her own flower farm. The day of the move arrived, warm and sunny. Maya had rearranged her furniture to make room for David's belongings, and she felt a nervous excitement as she watched him carry his boxes up the narrow stairs. Eleanor, despite her age and mobility issues, insisted on supervising the entire process from her wheelchair, which David had brought so she could participate. "That box goes in the bedroom," Eleanor directed, pointing with her cane. "And David, be careful with that lamp. It belonged to your great-grandmother." "Yes, ma'am," David replied, grinning at Maya over Eleanor's head. By evening, they had successfully merged their lives into the small space. David's books filled the shelves alongside Maya's art supplies. His camera equipment found a home next to her easel, and their clothes shared the tiny closet in surprising harmony. "It feels like you've always been here," Maya said as they stood in their now shared bedroom, looking at how naturally their belongings had blended together. "It feels like home," David agreed, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "Our home." That night, they lay in bed talking about their future plans. David had been offered a permanent teaching position at the local elementary school, and Maya had been researching properties outside of town that might be suitable for a small flower farm. "I found a place," Maya said, her voice filled with excitement. "It's about 10 minutes from town, 5 acres with a small farmhouse and an old greenhouse that needs work. The price is reasonable because it's been abandoned for a few years, but I think it has potential." "Tell me about it." "The greenhouse is beautiful, even though it needs new glass and a complete overhaul of the heating system. The farmhouse has good bones but needs updating. There's already a well and irrigation system for the fields, though they'd need to be repaired." David was quiet for a moment, and Maya worried she had gotten too carried away with her enthusiasm. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "I'm thinking about how we could make this work. My savings from selling my place in the city, plus what we'll save living together, plus the teaching salary, we might actually be able to swing it. David turned to face her in the darkness. "Maya, I want to build this dream with you. I want us to create something beautiful together." Maya felt tears of joy streaming down her face. "Really? You'd do that with me?" "I'd do anything with you." The next morning, they drove out to see the property together. The farmhouse sat at the end of a long gravel driveway, surrounded by overgrown fields and mature oak trees. The greenhouse, despite its neglected state, was stunning. A Victorian-style structure with intricate metalwork and soaring glass panels. "It's perfect," Maya breathed, walking through the empty rooms of the house and envisioning their future there. "Look, this room gets perfect morning light for a studio." And the kitchen is big enough for a real table where we can have friends over for dinner. David was examining the greenhouse structure, testing the stability of the frame. This is solid. With some work, it could be incredible. We could grow anything in here. They spent hours exploring every inch of the property, making lists of repairs and improvements, dreaming about flower beds and vegetable gardens, planning where they would put the workshop for arranging flowers and the office for the business. "Should we make an offer?" Maya asked as they sat on the farmhouse's front porch, watching the sunset through the oak trees. "Only if you're sure this is what you want." "It's going to be a lot of work, Maya. We'll basically be starting from scratch." Maya thought about the flower shop where she had felt safe and comfortable for the past 2 years, then looked at the overgrown fields and imagined them blooming with every flower imaginable. She thought about the small apartment where they had been so happy, then pictured the spacious farmhouse filled with the family they hoped to create. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," she said. "But David, are you sure you want to give up your career in the city for this? Teaching in a small town, helping me build a flower farm. It's so different from what you originally planned." David took her hand and lifted it to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her palm. "Maya, my original plan was made by someone who didn't know what he really wanted. Being with you, taking care of Eleanor, living in this community, it's shown me what actually matters. I don't want a prestigious career if it means I can't have breakfast with you every morning and fall asleep next to you every night. And if the flower farm doesn't work out, if we fail, then we'll fail together, and we'll figure out what comes next. But Maya, I don't think we'll fail. I think we're going to build something amazing." That weekend, they made an offer on the property. The owner, an elderly man who had inherited it from his aunt, was delighted to sell it to a young couple who would bring it back to life. The negotiation was straightforward, and within a month they had signed all the papers and received the keys to their new home. Eleanor was thrilled about the move, especially when David and Maya assured her that they were planning to build a small addition to the farmhouse specifically for her, with wide doorways for her wheelchair and a bedroom on the main floor. "I always wanted to live in the country again," Eleanor confided to Maya as they sat in the flower shop one afternoon. "I grew up on a farm, you know. My parents grew corn and soybeans, and my mother had the most beautiful flower garden. She's the one who taught me that flowers can heal hearts and bring joy to any situation." "I'd love to hear more about that," Maya said, arranging a bouquet of spring flowers. "Maybe you could help me plan the gardens for the farm." "Oh, my dear, I would love nothing more. I may be old, but I still remember everything my mother taught me about soil and seasons and which flowers bloom when." The partnership between Maya and Eleanor deepened as they spent hours planning the layout of the flower farm. Eleanor's knowledge of traditional gardening techniques complemented Maya's artistic eye and modern business sense perfectly. "We should plant rows of lavender along the main driveway," Eleanor suggested, sketching on the large piece of paper they had spread across Maya's kitchen table. "It will smell beautiful when people arrive, and you can use it in arrangements and sell dried bundles." "That's brilliant. And what about here, near the greenhouse?" "Roses. Every color you can grow in this climate. David told me you met over yellow roses, so they should definitely be featured prominently." Maya smiled at the memory. "It seems like a lifetime ago, but it was only 4 months. The best things in life happen quickly, dear. I knew I loved David's grandfather after our second dance. Some hearts just recognize each other immediately." As spring turned to summer, Maya and David spent every weekend at the farmhouse, cleaning, painting, and making repairs. David proved surprisingly handy with tools, and Maya discovered she had a talent for design and project management. They worked side by side, transforming the neglected property into their dream home. The greenhouse project became their biggest challenge and greatest triumph. They spent weeks carefully removing broken glass and replacing it with energy-efficient panels. David learned to weld so he could repair the intricate metal framework, while Maya researched heating and irrigation systems. "I can't believe we're actually doing this," Maya said one evening as they stood inside the newly restored greenhouse, admiring their work. The setting sun streamed through the clean glass, casting everything in a golden glow. "It's going to be incredible when it's filled with flowers," David agreed, pulling her into his arms. I can already picture you in here, creating beautiful arrangements, maybe teaching classes to other people who love flowers as much as you do. I love you so much, Maya whispered, overwhelmed by gratitude for this man who had believed in her dreams and made them his own. I love you too. More than I ever thought possible. They had planned to wait until the house was completely finished before moving in. But as summer progressed, they found themselves spending more and more nights at the farmhouse. They would work until exhaustion, then fall asleep together on an air mattress in the main bedroom, windows open to let in the sound of crickets and the gentle breeze that always seemed to blow across the fields. We should have our first dinner party soon, Maya said one morning as they drank coffee on the front porch, watching the sunrise over their land. Once we get the dining room furniture moved in and the kitchen fully functional, who would you want to invite? Eleanor, obviously. And Sarah, I want her to see how happy we are. Maybe some of your new colleagues from the school, and the woman who owns the bakery downstairs. We could make it a housewarming party. That sounds perfect. Eleanor has been talking about wanting to cook for a group again. We could ask her to make her famous apple pie. Do you think she'll be happy here? Really happy, not just making the best of it? David was quiet for a moment, considering the question seriously. I think she'll be happier here than she's been since Grandpa died. She loves being needed, being part of building something new, and she adores you, Maya. Sometimes I think she loves you more than she loves me, Maya laughed. That's not possible, but I'm glad she approves. Her opinion matters so much to me. It matters to me too. She's the wisest person I know, and if she thinks we're meant to be together, then I know we are. As they sat in comfortable silence, watching their future take shape around them, both Maya and David felt a deep sense of rightness about the path they had chosen. They had found love, built a home, and created a foundation for the family and business they hoped to grow together. The first hints of autumn were beginning to show in the changing leaves of the oak trees, and Maya was already planning which spring bulbs to plant for their first full growing season. David had started his new teaching job and came home each day with stories about his students and excitement about the difference he was making in their lives. Next summer we'll have our first real harvest, Maya said, gazing out at the fields they would soon prepare for planting. Our flowers will be blooming everywhere, and people will come from all over to see what we've created. Next summer, David agreed, this will be paradise. Neither of them could have predicted that their greatest test was still ahead of them, hiding just around the corner like a storm cloud on the horizon. But in that perfect morning moment, with their dreams taking shape before their eyes, and their love stronger than ever, they were blissfully unaware that sometimes paradise comes with a price that tests the very foundations of everything you believe about love and commitment. The call came at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday in late October. Maya woke to the sound of David's phone buzzing urgently on the nightstand. In the darkness, she heard his sharp intake of breath and knew immediately that something was wrong. Eleanor! David's voice was thick with sleep and worry. Slow down. I can't understand. What? No, don't hang up. I'm coming right now. Maya sat up, her heart pounding. What is it? Eleanor fell. She's at the hospital. She thinks she broke her hip. David was already pulling on clothes, his hands shaking slightly. She managed to crawl to the phone, but she's been on the floor for hours. They drove to the hospital in tense silence, Maya's hand clasped tightly in David's. Eleanor had been living independently in the small apartment they had found for her in town, insisting she wasn't ready to move to the farmhouse until it was completely finished. She had seemed fine just the day before when she visited to help Maya plan the spring flower gardens. At the hospital, they found Eleanor pale but alert, her usual sparkling eyes dulled with pain. I'm sorry to worry you both, she said weakly as David took her hand. I was getting up to use the bathroom and just lost my balance. It's silly, really. Don't apologize, Eleanor, Maya said, smoothing the older woman's silver hair. We're just glad you're okay. The doctor confirmed that Eleanor had fractured her hip and would need surgery. At her age, recovery will be slow, he explained gently. She'll need extensive physical therapy and full-time care for several weeks, possibly months. David's face went white. Full-time care? I'm afraid so. This type of injury in elderly patients requires constant monitoring, help with mobility, medication management. Do you have family nearby who can assist? Maya watched David struggle with the reality of what this meant. They had just moved to the farmhouse a month ago. The renovations were ongoing. Eleanor's addition wasn't even started, and David had just begun his new teaching job. We'll figure it out, David said finally. She's family. We'll make it work. Eleanor's surgery was successful, but her recovery proved even more challenging than the doctors had predicted. The once independent woman who had directed their move and planned their gardens was now confined to a hospital bed, frustrated and weak. I hate being helpless, Eleanor confided to Maya during one of their daily visits. I've never been the kind of woman who needed taking care of. You're not helpless, Maya assured her. You're healing. There's a difference. When Eleanor was discharged 2 weeks later, David took a leave of absence from his teaching job to care for her. They converted the downstairs living room of the farmhouse into a temporary bedroom, and David slept on the couch so he could hear if Eleanor needed anything during the night. The physical demands of caregiving were exhausting. Eleanor needed help with everything: bathing, dressing, getting to the bathroom, taking her medications. David barely slept, constantly worried about her safety and comfort. Maya tried to help while still running the flower shop, but the stress was taking its toll on both of them. You look terrible, Sarah observed bluntly when Maya came into work one morning with dark circles under her eyes and her hair hastily pulled back. How long has it been since you've had a full night's sleep? I don't know. A few weeks? Maya measured coffee with shaking hands. David's doing most of the hands-on care, but I worry about him. He's pushing himself too hard. What about professional help? A nurse or aide? We looked into it. It's incredibly expensive, and Eleanor doesn't want strangers in the house. She only feels comfortable with David and me. Maya didn't mention the growing tension between her and David. They barely had time for conversations anymore, let alone romantic moments. When they did talk, it was usually about Eleanor's medications or therapy schedule. Maya felt guilty for missing the intimacy they had shared, but she also felt increasingly isolated and overwhelmed. The flower shop, which had been thriving, began to suffer as Maya's attention was divided. She made mistakes with orders, arrived late, and found herself snapping at customers who would have received her full patience just months before. I don't know how much longer I can do this, Maya confessed to David one evening as they sat in the kitchen after getting Eleanor settled for the night. I feel like I'm failing at everything. The shop, our relationship, helping with Eleanor. David looked exhausted, older than his years. I'm sorry, Maya. I know this isn't what you signed up for when we moved here together. Don't say that. Eleanor is family. I love her too. But David, we need help. You can't sacrifice your career and your health indefinitely. What choice do I have? Dean, she took care of me my whole life. She gave up her own dreams to raise me after my parents died. How can I abandon her now? Maya felt a stab of hurt at his words. I'm not asking you to abandon her. I'm asking you to find a sustainable way to care for her that doesn't destroy our relationship and our future. Our future? David's voice was sharp with exhaustion and frustration. Maya, look around. This is our reality now. Eleanor may never fully recover. She could need care for years. And what about us? What about our dreams, our flower farm, our plans for a family? Those were selfish dreams. This is more important. The words hung in the air between them like a physical blow. Maya felt tears burning her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Selfish dreams? Is that really what you think? David immediately looked stricken. Maya, I didn't mean that. I'm just tired and worried and... No, I think you meant exactly what you said. Maya stood up abruptly. I'm going to stay at my old apartment tonight. We both need some space to think. Maya, please don't go. Let's talk about this. There's nothing to talk about right now. You've made your priorities clear. Maya drove through the dark countryside with tears streaming down her face, feeling like her world was crumbling around her. The old apartment above the bakery was cold and dusty, but it felt like a refuge from the overwhelming sadness that had taken over the farmhouse. She called Sarah, who came over immediately with wine and tissues. "He didn't mean it," Sarah said after Maya had poured out the whole story. "He's overwhelmed and scared. People say things they don't mean when they're under that kind of pressure. But what if he did mean it? What if when things get difficult, he really believes our dreams together are selfish? Maya, I've seen you two together. I've seen how he looks at you, how he talks about your future. This is a crisis situation. It's not permanent." "How do I know that? Eleanor could need care for years." "She's 85 years old, Sarah. What if she never gets better? What if David becomes her permanent caregiver and I become, what? The woman who selfishly wanted more?" Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know. I love David more than I've ever loved anyone, but I don't know if I can live a life where I always come second to his obligations. I don't want to be that person who makes someone choose between love and family, but I also don't want to disappear into someone else's life." Maya spent 3 days at the apartment, going through the motions of running the flower shop while her heart ached. David called repeatedly, but she wasn't ready to talk. She needed time to think about what she really wanted and what she was willing to sacrifice for love. On the 4th day, Eleanor called. "Maya, dear, could you come see me? David told me you've had a disagreement, but he won't tell me what about." "I think I can guess, though." Maya drove to the farmhouse reluctantly, not sure what she would say to the woman she had grown to love like a grandmother. She found Eleanor sitting in the wheelchair on the front porch, wrapped in blankets, but looking more alert than she had since the accident. "Sit down, child. We need to talk." Maya took the chair beside Eleanor's wheelchair, her hands folded nervously in her lap. "David thinks he's protecting me by not telling me what's going on, but I'm old, not stupid," Eleanor began. "I know this situation is putting a strain on your relationship. I know he's exhausted himself trying to take care of me, and I know you feel pushed aside." Maya felt tears threaten again. "Eleanor, I would never ask David to choose between us. I love you too. I know you would never ask, which is why I'm going to make the choice for him." Eleanor's voice was firm despite her physical frailty. "I've been thinking a lot these past few days about my late husband and what he would say about this situation." "What do you think he would say?" "He would say that the greatest gift we can give the people we love is the freedom to build their own happiness. He would say that love isn't about sacrifice and martyrdom, it's about supporting each other to become the best versions of yourselves." Maya looked up, surprised by the steel in Eleanor's voice. "I'm going to move to the assisted living facility in town," Eleanor continued. "They have a wonderful rehabilitation program, and I'll have access to professional care while still maintaining some independence." "Eleanor, no. David would never forgive me if you moved there because of our problems." "This isn't about your problems, dear. This is about what's best for everyone, including me. I don't want to spend my final years watching my grandson destroy his future out of misplaced guilt. I don't want to be the reason you lose your dreams." "But David said caring for you is more important than our dreams. He said our plans were selfish." Eleanor reached over and took Maya's hand in her papery but strong grip. "David is a good man, but he's wrong about this. Dreams aren't selfish when they're built on love and shared commitment. They're what make life worth living. What if he resents me for this? What if he thinks I forced you to move? Then he's not the man I raised him to be, and he's not worthy of your love. But I don't think that will happen. I think once he gets some sleep and perspective, he'll remember who he really is and what he really wants." That evening, David returned from grocery shopping to find Eleanor and Maya sitting together in the kitchen, a pile of brochures spread on the table between them. "What's all this?" he asked, looking between them suspiciously. "Information about Sunset Manor," Eleanor said calmly. "I'm moving there next week." David's face went white. "Absolutely not. We can handle this. I can take care of you." "David, sit down." Eleanor's voice carried the authority of a woman who had raised him from childhood. "You're going to listen to what I have to say, and you're not going to argue." Reluctantly, David sat down across from Maya, who couldn't meet his eyes. "I am 85 years old," Eleanor began. "I have lived through the Great Depression, World War II, raising 4 children, losing 2 of them, and saying goodbye to the love of my life. I am not afraid of assisted living, and I am not going to let guilt destroy the happiness of the 2 people I love most in this world. Maya and I had a fight, but that's not your fault. We can work through our problems. Can you? When was the last time you 2 had dinner together without discussing my medications? When was the last time you talked about your flower farm or your future children or any of the dreams that brought you together?" David was quiet, and Maya saw the moment when he realized Eleanor was right. "I love you both," Eleanor continued, "which is why I'm choosing to get the care I need from professionals so that you can get back to building the life you're meant to share. David, your grandfather didn't fall in love with me so he could spend his life as my caregiver. He fell in love with me so we could be partners, supporting each other's dreams and building something beautiful together. But what if something happens to you? What if you need us and we're not there? Then you'll come running just like you did when I fell. But David, I don't need you to hover over me every moment to prove you love me. I need you to be happy. I need you to build the life with Maya that your grandfather and I built together." Maya finally looked up at David and saw tears in his eyes. "I'm so sorry," he whispered to her. "I lost sight of everything that mattered. I was so scared of losing Eleanor that I was willing to lose you instead. David, I never wanted you to choose between us. I just wanted us to find a way to take care of Eleanor without losing ourselves." Eleanor smiled with satisfaction. "That's exactly what we're going to do. Sunset Manor has a beautiful garden, and Maya, I want you to help me design a flower bed there. David, you're going back to your teaching job, and you're both going to visit me twice a week for dinner. This is how we take care of each other." The move to Sunset Manor was easier than anyone expected. Eleanor thrived with the social interaction and professional care, while David and Maya slowly rebuilt their relationship. It took time to find their rhythm again, but gradually they remembered how to talk about things other than medical appointments and medication schedules. "I almost lost you," David said one evening as they sat on their front porch watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. "I almost threw away the best thing that ever happened to me." "But you didn't," Maya replied, leaning against his shoulder. "We figured it out together. I meant what I said about building our dreams together, Maya. The flower farm, the family, all of it. I want everything with you, even when things get difficult again." "Because they will, David. Life is unpredictable. Especially when things get difficult. That's when we need each other most." As winter melted into spring, Maya and David threw themselves back into their plans for the flower farm. Eleanor, now thriving in her new home, helped design the gardens from her comfortable apartment, and David returned to teaching with renewed passion. On a warm May evening, exactly 1 year after they had first kissed by the harbor, David led Maya to a spot in their newly planted flower garden where thousands of tulips were blooming in a riot of color. "Maya," he said, dropping to one knee among the flowers, "I want to spend every sunset for the rest of my life with you. I want to build this farm together, raise our children here and grow old, watching our grandchildren play in these gardens." Through happy tears, Maya saw the ring he held, a simple solitaire, surrounded by tiny diamonds that caught the golden light like dewdrops. "I want to be your partner in everything, your best friend, your greatest love. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Maya whispered. Then louder, "Yes, of course, yes." As David slipped the ring onto her finger, the setting sun bathed them both in golden light. The wind was soft and warm, carrying the scent of blooming flowers across their land. In that moment, surrounded by the beauty they had created together, their hearts intertwined just as surely as their dreams had become one. Eleanor, watching from the window of David's car where she sat waiting to surprise them both, smiled with deep satisfaction. She had known from the first day that these 2 hearts belonged together, and she had been right. Sometimes love needed a little guidance, a little push in the right direction, but when it was real, when it was the kind that lasted through sunset after sunset, it always found its way. As Maya and David held each other in their garden, promising forever with the warm wind blessing their commitment, they both knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. They had learned that true love wasn't about avoiding difficulties, but about choosing each other again and again, especially when things got hard. The golden moments stretched before them, infinite as the horizon, promising forever in the language of flowers and sunsets, and two hearts that had finally found their home in each other.